how many hours do we spend asleep?
Oh, so you have to do 9 times 7.
Is 70 days.
No, 70 hours.
70 hours. 84.
70 hours.
63 hours of sleep.
34
hours at school. In the car.
We do spend quite a lot of time in the car, don't we?
0.
0, because we don't have a car.
7 hours in the car.
Doing homework.
Not enough hours.
0. Doing homework.
6 hours.
30 minutes.
Doing homework.
On the toilet.
A week. 10 hours on the toilet.
Let's do 2 hours on the toilet.
Screen time.
Oh my goodness.
So much.
So weekly total 31 hours and 46 minutes.
Oh, that's you, Mummy.
It's me.
Yeah.
Why?
10 hours a day.
10 hours a week?
Yeah.
20 hours per week.
That's a lot, isn't it?
2 hours at church.
2 hours at church. Oh, how much time do you spend with parents?
60 hours.
Maybe 50, thereabouts.
60 hours. 75 hours.
We spend 75 hours per week with our parents.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Emma. Good evening, everybody. It's great to be here. And as Gemma has said, I'm Tony, and I'm the manager of Care for the Families Who Let the Dads Out project. And like every project needs a good catchphrase, and ours is to turn the hearts of fathers to their children and the hearts of children to their fathers to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. So as you can see, nice and succinct and pithy and easy to remember. Anyway, as you might imagine, the idea of families passing on faith from generation to generation is something that I'm very passionate about. I see it as part of God's desire and his design for family life. And now we've already heard some great verses from Deuteronomy. I'm equally taken by Psalm 78, and that says this: I will utter hidden things, things from of old, what we have heard and what we have known, what our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord. So just to introduce myself a little bit more, I'm married to Brenda and we live in Chester. And we have one daughter, a wonderful daughter who is 24 years of age now. Her name is Laura, and she lives down in Bristol with her partner whose name is Connor. So that's us, that's our family. And now we all know that there are no guarantees that our children will come to own their own faith. Just as we also know that our role as parents doesn't end when they leave home. As parents, we want the best for our children. And surely that includes them understanding what we understand of God, and more, hopefully, as well. But how can we tell them the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord when we are so very, very busy? So our theme for the next 10 minutes is exactly that. It's in the busyness. And it's true that this idea of passing on faith to our children can feel like a huge burden. It can feel like another task, additional to feeding them, to teaching them discipline, getting them to school on time, and so on. Another theme to cram into our already busy lives. And also maybe it feels like we have to nail it right from the get-go, from when they are born. That the clock is ticking, and if we're not careful, then we've blown the opportunity right at the very start. But our key message for this session is to encourage you not to view it like that. Rather, we want us all to see the opportunity to be authentic and intentional in the everyday, in the busyness of life, to help our children to see how we see God, how we see Jesus, complete with all our own questions and uncertainties. It's never too early or too late, whether your child is 2 months, 24 months, or 24 years old, as my daughter is. And you, as a child's parents, are the best people God chose you, in particular, to pass on faith to your children. So there is no right way. There are no, we're not here to give you rules to follow. Rather, by sharing a couple of stories now, I hope to encourage you a little bit about making faith visible in the everyday, in the busyness. Now, my stories are fathers' stories, but I hope they will be an encouragement to us all. So my first tip is to take advantage of unexpected moments. Not so long ago, I met the latest addition to our family, our wider family, and it's a great niece called Ada May. She was about 5 weeks old, and at the time, and Brenda was desperate for a cuddle and was thrilled when our niece placed Ada May into her arms. To be honest, I was pretty content to look on from afar and to help Ada's older brothers play with the Duplo. That seemed a much better thing for me to do. But my niece wasn't going to let me get away with that, and it became my turn to feed and wind Ada May. And then a very interesting thing happened. That caring, nurturing instinct kicked in, and I was 100% in the moment and 100% focused on Ada May and her needs. Well, of course I was. We are designed to look after babies and children who need us. And for us men, our testosterone levels go down in such circumstances, and our oxytocin levels go up in such circumstances as well. And that is to help us bond with our children. So Ada May was a little young for me to read scripture over her in that moment, and my singing voice would have distressed everybody else in the room considerably. So I didn't do that. But what I did do is to seek most of the moment. I gave her lots of eye contact. I cooed over her. And as the conversation allowed, I also told her father that he needed to be the best dad he could be because she would be looking to him for her understanding of what men should be like. So parenting is guaranteed to give us loads of unexpected moments. Some hilarious, some sad, some downright scary. But my first tip is to take advantage of the unexpected moments. No rules to follow, no key messages that we have to convey. Just be yourself and seize the moment, seize the day. Having said that, I'm a creature of habit and I love routines. And so my second tip is to find a simple routine that works for you and your family. Dave is a stay-at-home dad who came along to the Who Let the Dads Out group that I run in Chester. And as a young man, Dave had a cycling accident, and one of the consequences was that he started to suffer from epilepsy. Whilst drugs have helped him manage his illness, when he and his wife Lynn decided to start a family, and they discussed what was the right thing to do, they decided that Lynn would continue to work and that Dave would become a stay-at-home dad and look after the children. Now, one day, Dave heard a good friend of his saying how he prayed with his children at night. Now, Dave wasn't a Christian. He didn't have a faith at this time. But he started to pray at night with his 3 boys. I wonder what his motivation was to do that. I think it was something to do with the fact that he wanted what was best for his children. He wanted to pass on his values and his beliefs to his children. He wasn't quite sure what his values and beliefs might be, but he knew he wanted to pass them on. And he took some advice from somebody and he thought, I'll give that a go. So he started to pray with his children. To cut a long story short, that simple decision has influenced both him and his sons significantly in their faith journeys. Dave started to attend an Alpha course, and the whole family now attend church together. Dave's eldest son is 15 now, and he's starting to find his own faith now. And they've got 2 younger boys as well, who are on a faith journey as well. So Dave had a routine that worked for him and his family. So why not have a think about your family routines? And there are opportunities to meet with God in simple ways. Maybe it could be around the bedtime routine, similar to Dave's experience. Maybe it could be around mealtime, maybe about walking to school. Find the routine that works for you. So tip number 1 is take advantage of unexpected moments. Tip number 2 is to find a routine that works for you. And my third tip is to be present. So what do I mean by that? Sometimes being present can be really hard. What about parents who are absent from their family for long periods, for example? How can they be intentional in sharing their faith in those circumstances? I'm going to tell you about a guy called Steve. Steve joined the Royal Navy at 17 and went to sea for the first time in 1981. 4 months into his marriage, he was deployed for a 6-month period. Just 3 weeks after his first child was born, he was deployed for another 6-month period. And then the same thing happened when his second son arrived in 1991. He was absent for a lot of his children's early years. One of his emotions he regularly felt was one of guilt, of being away with the lads whilst his wife struggled with the everyday at home. He felt particularly guilty when he learnt that his eldest son was being bullied at school. But although Steve was physically absent for long periods, he was determined to be emotionally present. He wrote postcards home, expressing his love and his faith to his boys. It was crucial to him, both to him and them at these times. Nowadays, it would doubtless be replaced by WhatsApp and FaceTime. Just after supper this evening, I was taken by the fact that all of my co-presenters disappeared off to quickly FaceTime their families and their young children before bedtime this evening. I thought that was lovely. So Steve would write postcards home. He would also prioritise spending time with the whole family, just being and doing stuff together. Though he loved fixing things, the DIY jobs would just have to wait for another time. So my third tip is to be present, both physically and emotionally. And as I close, I just want to give a message really specific to the dads who might be watching us this evening. And my message to dads is this: it's do not abdicate your responsibility. As fellas, we sometimes take a back seat when it comes to parenting. We leave it to our partners because they do it so much better than we do, we may feel. But I want to encourage us to be dads and father figures who make a conscious decision to be intentional. We might not think it of ourselves, but our words and actions will have a profound effect on our children. We are such an important member of our family. Thank you.